Welcome to all my travelers out there. I am your host, Darren Beckett, and this is the Global Travel Podcast. For those who do not know my travel resume, I've been to 13 states, 15 countries on 5 different continents, but it is not about me. Here, we are giving you quality travel tips, insights, and recommendations on all the best destinations for ideas to enjoy your vacations. With that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. We are all clear for takeoff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we reach our destination, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, click the bell, and if you can do me a favor, if you can go to the comment section below, type in the words, "I got my ticket," and at the end of the show, I'm going to come by, I'm going to respond to see how your experience went with us, okay? So with that being said, on today's episode, we are taking a trip to Thailand. So make sure you got your passports, your earphones, and something to snack on. We have a very special guest here with us today. But before I introduce her, let me just say this. Now, this young lady right here has traveled extensively. She's been to 15 different states and 9 countries. So if Thailand is on your list, you want to pay attention. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Miss Kelly Hichman. So how you doing today, Kelly?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Much appreciated for stopping by, showing us your travel knowledge and whatnot. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
of course, of course. So before we got a flight to catch, we're heading out to Thailand. But before we hit this flight, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do for work, where you live, hobbies, all that good stuff.
I am from San Diego, California, and I actually grew up here. And I am a teacher, and I love it. I teach ESL, which is English as a Second Language. So I met people from all over the world that have been in one classroom with me, and it's just so fun. They inspire me so much to travel myself. And I love learning about their culture, and they teach me a lot different languages and their food and what they like to do. So that is a huge passion of mine, which is teaching. And my hobbies, I love being at the beach, of course, hanging out with friends, and just doing anything outdoors. I love it
Mm-hmm.
here. The weather
Nice.
is amazing in San Diego.
Year round. That's just not like a summer or spring type. It's just year round, just beautiful. So definitely agree. So let's go ahead and let's hop on this flight. We got a flight to catch, so we have a little ways to go. But let's stop in some places in the United States. So the first place that we can probably stop to that I know you wanted to recommend was Nevada. So let's go ahead and head over to Nevada since it's next door. So why do you recommend folks to go to Nevada?
So there's a big lake called Lake Tahoe, and it's amazing because part of it is on the California side and part of it is on the Nevada side. And I am fortunate my parents now live in Nevada, so they live right below Lake Tahoe. And when I get to visit, I get to see all of the lakes. So it's a lot of fun. There's so many different kinds of beaches, like hidden little gems that you can pull up, and you can go kayaking and swimming in the lake during
Mhm,
summer because there's snow during the winter.
mhm.
And there's just so many trails and sights to see. I've taken 1,000 pictures. And my last trip there, we actually saw a bear. It was amazing. So it
Oh.
literally jumped in front of the car. So it's cool.
Oh, okay. You was inside the car, so that's different.
Luckily,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, do you got to play dead? You got to drive dead. I don't. Time out. Quit now. Okay. All right. Let's be in this situation. So there's a bear. You're on your feet. You have nowhere to go. No, you can't outrun a bear. You can't outswim a bear. You can't outclimb a bear. So they say you supposed to lay down and act like you're dead. Hmm.
That, or I've heard you stand up big and tall. But then when I heard there's mountain lions there, I'm like, ooh, I'd rather like go against a bear than a mountain lion. So
See, I mean, would you really just lay? I mean, so I don't know. It's one of those. Your answer is this what it is right now because you're not in that situation. But if you're in that situation, what's the real deal? What's the real answer? So I don't. I mean, you kind of SOL. So I guess I think I would have to kind of just lay down because I heard that too. Where you get big or whatever. But you know what? I don't know. I don't know what I would do in that real situation. So that's kind of funny.
I just picture
um,
like smelling my face and my heart. I think it could just feel running out of my chest. And it depends on the kind of bear because If it's like a grizzly, I think you're supposed to lay down and play dead, maybe. But there were like the little brown black bears that we saw, and people literally go up to them with their phones and they try to get
Ooh.
pictures, but they're just minding their own business, like looking for food on the side of the road. So they weren't
Mhm.
dangerous. So it was nice.
Wow. So far as Lake Tahoe, is there anything far as eateries or food that you would recommend, or is they really not really known for that?
There is a great little town called Heavenly in Lake Tahoe, it's South Lake Tahoe, and that's a popular ski resort. It is super cute just to walk around summer or winter. It's just so beautiful. And there's a popular pizza place there. I don't know the exact name, but it's amazing. There's different options. So you can just find anything, and there's shops and little tourist areas. Big hotels too. I stayed at the Hard Rock Hotel there, and we were on the top floor and we had a view of the sunset over Lake Tahoe. It was gorgeous.
Nice, nice. So yeah, that's cool. I haven't been to Lake Tahoe. It's definitely on my bucket list. I've heard great things about it. Saw the pictures. So it looks real refreshing, fresh and clean. And those folks who are into hiking and camping and outdoor activities, I think Lake Tahoe, I think you'll have a good time there. So definitely put it on your bucket list if it's not already. And so let's go ahead and hop on this flight. We still gotta hop back on and go to another state before we go international. So where else would you like to take us? What do you recommend? What state?
I would like to take you to Louisiana. It's where my father was
Mm,
actually born and raised until he moved out here to California. And just the hospitality alone is amazing. And also the food. I'm fortunate that he can actually cook that food still, like gumbo and jambalaya, crawfish
mm-hmm,
etouffee. I'm not a
mm-hmm,
big seafood person, but when he cooks it, it's okay.
mm-hmm.
I'll eat it. And so, but it's amazing, except summertime when it's humid and hot. And I just remember all the bugs, and I'm like, what is that? And they were like gigantic bugs.
Yeah, yeah. So far as things that yeah, Louisiana, you can't go wrong with the food. I mean, you named the foods. It's just heaven on earth. And like I mentioned this before, it's not about health, nothing about health. If you're looking to be healthy and eating, it's not gonna work out. But if you're looking for taste and you're looking for, a full stomach and even some leftovers, then yeah, Louisiana is the place to go. Now, as far as things to do, we know the French Quarter, we know Bourbon Street. Are there any other things that you would recommend folks to do while in Louisiana?
A swamp tour, any swamp tour that's there, it's amazing. I am personally, I do not like crocodiles or alligators, and my dad took us to his college, and you just see the bushes floating in the water and there's like alligators or something in there. I'm like, no, no thank you.
Hmm.
And the
Hmm.
fact that you hear on the news like they eat little dogs or they attack, and I'm not a fan. So anything with
Hmm.
alligators and crocodiles, no thank you. But it was so cool. I'm just like, how can you go there and there's crocodiles right there and they can get out of the water and come see you?
Right, right. I hear that they across the street and cross the road on you and whatnot. So, yeah. But I mean, the swamp tour sounds fun to me, though. I try to do things that are a little different for me. I'm not. I mean, I'm from California, so we don't. Not that I know of have any swamps that I'm aware of.
No, me too.
So for those folks who don't have a swamp in their backyard and you're in Louisiana, definitely take a swamp tour. And those big old I don't even know what you call them, but the little do you take those boats with the big fan in the back? I don't know what it's
Yeah,
called, but a little
yeah.
boat.
And
Okay.
it's a tour guide and they show you around. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
something.
definitely
That's something.
recommend that.
Okay, okay, cool. So we actually have time to hit another state. So before we do that, anything else in Louisiana that you want to mention before we head out?
Just experience the hospitality that the people have to offer and just enjoy amazing food that you can't really
Mm-hmm.
find here in California.
Mm-mm, you sure can. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And then also, if you're into music and culture and jazz is huge down there. So those are some of the things. And then also they have what I heard. I've been to Louisiana a couple of times, but I don't know why I haven't done this. But they have drive-through daiquiri shops and daiquiris, so you could just drive through and order a daiquiri to go. So do that. You have to definitely experience that. So put that on your bucket list. Now, let's head to another state. What other state would you recommend that you've been to?
I would recommend Pennsylvania. It's an interesting, I
Mm.
don't know much about it, but the Amish are there. And I found them to be so interesting. And I was a lot younger. All I remember is you cannot take pictures of them, and they still ride in buggies and horses. So I thought that was
Oh.
interesting. I wish I had more time there to go to like museums and
Mm-hmm.
do stuff there, but it was literally just kind of driving through the state. And you get to experience just being on the East Coast, their
Mm-hmm.
weather, it's so different. The trees, the seasons,
Mm-hmm.
they have seasons, unlike San
Mm-hmm.
Diego.
Right.
So definitely, I mean, I just picture living their lifestyle. It's crazy and amazing at the same time.
Right, right. So those folks who do not know what Amish is or the Amish lifestyle is, can you explain a little bit about what it is or highlight what you know of?
All I know is they kind of live like the old fashioned way. And I think it's cool because I love horses. Like, I wouldn't mind going to school or going to play like on a carriage. That would be
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that's about as much as I know. And just you can see like their facial hair on men is just so different. The way they dress is a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really cool. It was pretty fascinating just to see how other people live, and that's why I like to travel to other countries because I want to
Mm-hmm.
experience. I want to learn how
Right,
other people
right.
live.
And they're right here in the United States, in Pennsylvania. So if you guys want to experience a different culture, that's not a bad culture to experience. It's definitely different than what we're used to in typical American culture. So definitely take Pennsylvania, take that and put that on your list as a place to go. Now, I don't know too much about the Amish, but like you said, I mean, I'm not mad at riding a horse. You ain't got to gas them up. So you ain't got to worry about gas prices going up. So I guess that kind of work. But I guess you got to feed the horse. That's kind of like the
Spend money on
gas.
food, yes.
So yeah, I guess that's kind of like the gas. It's a little trade off, and hopefully they don't eat that much. So, but I guess it is what it is. But at least they have maintenance too. But maybe they maintenance don't cost a lot. You don't need insurance and like that because you something break down on your car, boy. You ain't got no insurance or ain't got no. Man, let
Right.
me tell you. But anyways, let's head to
Electricity,
another
maybe,
state.
I
Let's
don't
head.
know, like how their electricity bills might not be like crazy. I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
happens inside the house, but it's fascinating. It's really cool.
Do you know if they use candles at all, or maybe electricity is probably the main source
See,
of
in
light?
my mind, I think they would, but then it is 2020, so I don't know if they've like gradually, gotten
Mhm,
more
mhm.
modern. But I'm gonna look that up because it
Yeah,
was
that's
very interesting.
yeah, that's different. So let's go ahead. Let's hit one more state. Why not? Let's hit another state up. Let's go ahead and go to I mean, I don't know. You the pilot, I'm co-piloting. Where would you one more state before we go international? Where would you like to take us? What you recommend?
How about Washington, D.C.? It's like the
Mm-hmm.
capital, but it's really cool to
Mm-hmm.
see just history is there. And when I went, I was 14 years old, so it was a long time ago. Um, you know, it was during summer. So I'm like, what are we doing here? It's so hot. Like, and we were young. So it's like the museum and history, we weren't interested in that. But now I'm like, I want to go back. Like, now that I'm older and more educated, I'm like, I need to go see like the White House again and, all the different statues and monuments. It was amazing. So it was
Mm-hmm.
really cool.
Yeah, you'll probably definitely appreciate it more now that you know more. So that makes sense. And then I also hear that the museums in Washington D.C. are free. Can you vouch for that? Do you know or did I hear wrong?
I mean, it could have changed because it was so long ago.
Mm.
It totally could have changed from back then. I just remember we were just walking around so much and just seeing the different monuments.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. And my aunt lived there
Right.
at the time, so she could show us around too. It was nice.
Okay, cool. So if you guys are into history, Washington D.C. is probably the place to go. A lot of culture, a lot of history, and a lot of things to do. And like I said, don't quote me on this. I believe the museums are free, but do your due diligence. I don't know. I had never been, but that's on my list. So let me know if you find out before I do. All right. So before we head to Thailand, so we still have a little ways to go. Let's go international though. Let's go across the pond. Let's see what's going on across the pond. What's the first state or not state, but country that you would recommend folks to go to?
Africa. I would go to Africa. It is
Mm,
beautiful. I went to South Africa, Cape Town and Johannesburg,
mhm,
and I went
mhm,
all by myself, and I went to do a volunteer program there with kids for 2 weeks, and then I flew to Johannesburg and did Kruger safaris, and it was amazing. It was definitely not what I thought it would be. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was of course better, but you picture Africa. I really thought getting off the plane, I'm like, where's the elephants? Where's the giraffes? And they weren't there.
Right,
I'm
right,
like, I'm not in Africa. Where am I? And
right,
so
right.
it was an awesome experience. The people there are so nice. And some of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite students here are from Senegal. So, I mean, they're
Mm.
amazing students. So that inspired me to go to Africa. But I want to go back and I want to go to Kenya and different parts of Africa. But it was amazing.
Mm. Yep, yep, definitely. I've never been to Africa, well, Morocco, but I want to go deeper into Africa. Now, far as the vibe, you say you went to Cape Town and Johannesburg, is that correct?
Yes.
So what is the vibe like between the two? What's the difference? Are there any similarities, or what would you recommend, or what's the vibe like in those two places?
Cape Town's more touristy as far as the coastal town. And another funny thing is, I did not know Africa has winter. I was not prepared. And I was freezing because I went during our summer and I'm like, oh, it's going to be hot. It's Africa. I was so cold. And then on the safaris, it's the wind in your face and your ears start hurting. Like we were wrapped up and it was so cold.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was definitely not prepared for that. I should have looked at the weather ahead of time. So that really surprised me too. And just being because they're by the
Hmm.
coast, Cape Town, the
Hmm.
wind and it was so cold. It's not like we went swimming at the beach. It wasn't like that at all.
Okay. Now, what about Johannesburg? How's the vibe there between the difference there?
So I didn't get to see a lot of Johannesburg because I was by myself. I heard Johannesburg wasn't as safe as Cape Town. Like Cape Town, I walked
Mm-hmm.
around by myself, went shopping, did all of that. It was fine. But Johannesburg, they're like, stay with your group. And with that group
Hmm.
was the safari group that took us to Kruger Park. So I stayed with them. So I didn't get,
Okay.
see Johannesburg that much. Just Kruger Park
Right, right.
was still huge and still had fence lines too. And I'm like, but I thought they're supposed to be in the wild. There's still fences. Like, it's crazy. So all the misconceptions
Hmm.
of Africa, I got to experience. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, I would like to do the safari tours. I've seen it on IG and folks. I even seen folks just walking with the lions. I'm like, yo, that's ill.
I did the
I
same
don't
thing with
know.
an elephant. I walked about a mile with an African elephant, and that was
Hmm.
incredible. Like, elephants are amazing, and I have experience with Asian elephants and African elephants now. So it's awesome.
Hmm. Yeah, and I hear elephants is really, really smart too, have good memory. So I don't know how true that is, but I mean, it may be. I don't know. I'm not an
They
elephant
are.
trainer or nothing. So
Yes.
okay. Elijah Thornberry for those folks who watch. I wish I could talk to animals. I think that would be dope if you can just talk to animals and just, I don't know, like, especially my dogs, especially, but
Oh,
just animals in general, animals and Dr. Doolittle type thing, I guess. Elijah Thornberry or something. But anyways, Africa was fun. Definitely got to experience, the safaris, the different animals. It's a lot to do in Africa. Now, Cape Town is more of the touristy area, and then Johannesburg is probably not the place for solo travelers. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not one. So let's talk about that a little bit. For so we have a lot of female. Matter of fact, I don't know if you know this statistic or not, but there are more solo female travelers than there are men solo travelers. So, what advice have you traveled by yourself? Sounds like so. What advice could you give to those solo female travelers who a thought about traveling and haven't done it yet, and b maybe have a trip planned or maybe been on some trips and need some advice that you may know? So, what can you shed light on in that area?
well, first of all, I think that every person should travel alone at least once in their lifetime. I actually enjoy traveling alone. I can travel alone and I can travel with friends. But traveling alone, I meet so much more people. Like, it's amazing. And I
Hmm.
actually, in Johannesburg, I kind of like was an adoptive daughter of a family that is here in America, and we still talk. they knew I was alone. They took me under their wings. And there was one night we stayed in a tree house, and I was alone in a tree house, and they had told us that there's jaguars on the property, but my toilet was outside. And of course, I had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night with my flashlight. And I'm like, there's rhinos, there's jaguars. And like they had offered, like, if I wanted to stay with them in their place, they were so concerned for me. I'm like, I could do this. I'm going to be brave. And after, when I was sitting on the toilet, I heard lions roaring. And I'm like, they did not tell us there were lions here. And then we all woke up the next morning. We were asking the tour guides, we're like, why did we hear lions? And they're like, oh, they're in a cage. They're waiting to be released. But they're like a couple miles down, kilometers down. And we're like, okay, but you could still hear them. And it was amazing. I was looking for jaguars up in my tree house. I'm like, I'm going to die out here. But it was awesome.
You better than me. I would have just waited till the morning. I would have like, yeah, I'm gonna have to wait till the morning time.
I wish I could hold that long, and I can't. And it was winter. It was even worse.
Oh yeah, that's even worse. Yeah, they gonna be mad at me, boy, because I ain't. Yeah, that what an experience. But definitely travel alone if you get the chance. It's so liberating, empowering. It's a lot that you can. Now, as far as like a tip or advice for not only just solo travelers, but especially female solo travelers, what advice or tips would you be able to lend out for that?
Be careful with your belongings at all times. If you carry, I try to carry something light, like a little bag, but put it in front of you. If you are in like a hostel type situation, make sure that you always want to carry like a padlock, and you can lock your stuff up securely in there, because if you lose your passport or something, ooh, it's horrible. You have to find an embassy, and here you might be in a different country, you don't know the language. So you definitely don't want to lose your passport or any important things, because that's a pain.
Definitely have copies of your passport and whatnot, copies of the important documents. That's all important. So, all right, cool. So, yeah, definitely South Africa was amazing. Got a lot to experience, especially the wildlife. Now, let's head to another country. We still have some time before we get to Thailand. So, what other country would you recommend folks to go to?
I would recommend, ooh, how about Dominican Republic?
The DR. I've been there, lived there for a hot second. So, yeah, what would you recommend folks to do in the DR? What's there in the DR to do?
Okay, this is the funny thing. So this was my first solo trip ever, and I was not supposed to
hmm
go alone. I had a friend, and then she couldn't go. And we had this bungalow on the beach. It was amazing. And I was like, thank you. And she couldn't go, but I was like, I am in heaven right now, in the big old bed
Wow.
on the beach. And I knew that Dominican Republic was not safe either. Like, as far as the town, that's just what I was hearing. And then this being my first solo
hmm
trip, I stayed with the resort. So any tour that I did, which is also a great recommendation for anyone staying at resorts, talk to your hotel people and they can book tours for you. Everything was so
hmm
organized. They knew English really well. I met a
hmm
lot of people. Just in being in the resort, you could still meet a lot of people. You see the same people every day. And I
hmm
even got to go to a nightclub, and their nightclub was awesome. But I went, in a minivan from the resort to this nightclub, and it was an underground cave. I wish I even knew the name of it.
Wow.
Unlike anything
Mm.
here, like it was
Yeah.
amazing. And they were open
Yeah.
all night long, and I went back safely to the resort. They picked us up, and so that was great. That was my first time ever swimming with dolphins, so I got to do that in a little like sea otter thing. It was really cute.
hmm
Sea otter and some kind of shark.
Uh-huh.
So I got to do all
Right.
that, and then just chilling on the beach. The beach is one of my favorite things, and the sunsets and the water is just amazing. So I would definitely, if you want like
Right.
a Caribbean vibe, check out the Dominican Republic.
Okay, cool. Now, where would you rank the DR fire? Because you probably been to different beaches and tropical areas. Where do you rank the DR as far as their beach? What do you rank them on your list?
It is really high, even with Thailand. on my back burner. It is super high up
Hmm.
there, probably about 8 or 9. It is a good romantic getaway too for any couples out there. I know a lot of people
Hmm.
honeymoon. That is a great spot. So it's
Hmm.
beautiful.
Well said. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the DR is definitely a good spot for honeymoons and couples and romance and all that good stuff. It's cool for families and adventures and all that stuff too. Don't get me wrong. But they just have a beautiful beach. If you're into that type of stuff, the vibes of the culture in the Caribbean, I think DR, just warm water, clear water, white sand. And it's a lot of fun. If you're into the adventures, it's a lot of stuff you can do. So you can, whether it's swimming with the dolphins or swimming with sea otters or snorkeling or going to underground cave parties and nightclubs, that's something different. That's something different. So, what about the food? How was the food there for you? What was that like?
The food was okay. I just remember like the how do you say it? Plantains. What is it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Plantain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Plantains. Yep. Yep. That's it.
That's mostly what I remember. Since it was my first solo trip, I tried to stick with what I knew.
Mm-hmm.
These days I'm more adventurous with food. But
Mm-hmm.
I was at the time more careful too. But the plantains were very popular.
Right.
And I learned, Haiti was really close. So a lot of people that live in Haiti work in the Dominican Republic. So I got to kind of meet both worlds there and it was fun.
Yeah, and it's crazy. If you know the history, actually Haiti is the border country right next to the DR, and they actually had a war. I used to live in the DR, so I know a little bit. Yeah, they pretty much had a war back in the day, and the Haitians and the Dominicans aren't really too fond of each other, even though even though they border right next to each other. But yeah, that's something to definitely to do your research on. It's history everywhere you go, so that's one of the histories that you can definitely research. So yeah, DR was fun, very very beautiful, especially for the couples and whatnot. Now we have time for one more country. Let's hit another country before we head to Thailand. So what other country would you recommend folks to go to?
Mexico. I know it's a popular
Hmm.
destination, but there's
Hmm.
so much to do in Mexico. There's just so many different places, and the country's so big that you could go wine tasting, ride horses on the beach. We don't even have that here. Um,
Hmm.
ATVing. Oh man, there's so much you could do in Mexico. So it's a popular destination. I've been on a couple Mexican cruises with my family, and that's really
Hmm.
good memories too. So Mexico has a
Hmm.
really special place in my heart.
So what cities would you recommend in Mexico?
Uh, Puerto Vallarta is beautiful. Cancun, Cabo, Rosarito. There's a couple like wine countries next to
Hmm.
Ensenada, Guadalajara. It's just beautiful because you could drive down the coast from San Diego. We walk across and we just get a taxi.
Hmm.
We go all the way down the coast and it's gorgeous. You could go down there for the day. We went for a friend's birthday.
Hmm.
We just went down, we had seafood, we came back the same day and it was great. It was a lot of fun. And we felt like
Nice.
we got
Yeah.
away from America at least for a little bit.
Right, right.
So
Yeah,
good.
definitely I would recommend Mexico as well because it's very affordable, especially if you live in Southern California region. It's easy for us just to hop over there real quick, whether we drive or take a quick flight, or if you are into cruises, which I recommend, you can definitely do a cruise. The Carnival Cruise got a cruises, whether it's the 4 day going out of Long Beach, going to Ensenada, and what's the Catalina Island is another place that it goes as well. If you do the 7 day cruise, it'll take you to Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, and Cabo San Lucas. So it's stuff to do here, especially like I said, especially if you live here in California, Southern California area. So Mexico, put it on your list, especially now. I know a lot of folks are traveling to Mexico right now with everything that's going on in the world. And I hear it's pretty safe. It's pretty safe. They are taking all the necessary precautions to make the customers and clients and guests feel safe and protected. So put it on your list if it's not already. And if it is, move it on up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are officially landed in Thailand. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We are stretching our legs, finally getting off this plane and ready to hit the ground running. So Kelly, we're going to be here for a while. So what is the first thing you recommend for us to do while we're here?
Ooh, Thailand has my heart. I have been there now 3 times. And
Mm-hmm.
my very first time,
Mm-hmm.
I like to do a lot of volunteer work because then you feel like you give back. You get to travel, you get to meet people, you get cheaper accommodation. So I definitely recommend volunteering anywhere you can. That's actually where I get my travel ideas. I look up different companies. So I wanted to go to Costa Rica and do like the turtle conservation. So I found this elephant place in Thailand in Chiang Mai, and I had my very own elephant for 2 weeks. I woke up early. Her name was Anna. She's old. She was humongous. And I had to wake up early, and it was cold. Believe it or not, in Thailand, it was cold because Chiang Mai is
Uh-huh.
in the north.
Right.
Go out, feed her, pick up her big pile of poop, and it took like 2 hands for one poop in a bag. We
Uh,
got on them. So climbing up an elephant without, you go to like the ones where they ride on a basket and they level you up. Climbing on an
mhm.
elephant was a lot harder than I thought because they're actually very slippery. So you have
Oh.
their trainers, which are called mahouts, kind of, and
Mhm.
the mahouts are very conservative. Thailand, if you know the culture, is very conservative, but they're like pushing you up the elephant until you get the hang of it, because they lay the elephant down and you step like into the crease of their arm and you have to
Mhm.
climb your way
Mhm.
up, and it's incredible, but they're slippery. And then we
Wow.
ride them down to the river every morning and we have to wash them. So they lay down
Mhm.
in the river, we can climb all over them, and then we take them out for a walk and they dry off
Mhm.
and they go back to their camp. I learned a lot from that camp. It is like a touristy, people go there and they ride the elephants they on the baskets. They
Mhm.
also had an elephant show, so they had all the elephants doing all the tricks and stuff. um,
Mhm.
that was amazing. It was definitely eye-opening, as far as some people will say like, oh, they don't treat the elephants well, and totally get it, so it was very eye-opening to me.
Mhm.
So that was my
Mhm.
first time in Thailand, and we stayed in like little huts, and I got to meet some people that I still talk to today. So it was
Wow.
great. And I spent New Year's over there, and New Year's over there is a lot better than here. So we stayed out all night.
That's crazy. So now I've been to Bangkok and Pattaya. I know folks say, you should go to Phi and Phuket and all that stuff. So now, just disclaimer for those folks out there who have no idea about Thailand and the controversy in riding elephants. So I made that mistake, and I was very touristy when I went to Thailand, and I rode the elephants and posted pictures, and the elephants picked me up and doing all. And I got the backlash from, hey, you shouldn't do that. They treat them elephants bad, and all that type of stuff. Like, all right, what's the? I was going to hit it with a Bible scripture, but I didn't know a scripture to hit it. The one with the stone. You throw a stone, and you know which one I'm talking about. I don't know, but y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, they over here judging me. I'm like, wait a minute, time out. I know y'all got some demons and some things y'all got going on. Wait a minute. But yeah, but just FYI, if y'all folks who do not know, they do treat those elephants and animals, bad, and they are abused and whatnot. So I wouldn't recommend riding an elephant. I will actually recommend going the sanctuary route. And they have different sanctuaries in there in Thailand where you can, like Kelly was doing, take care of the elephant, wash and bathe it, play, and stuff like that. I think that's a little more friendly for the elephants. So that's pretty
It
dope.
is, yeah.
Yeah. So what about the food in Thailand? What would you recommend to eat?
If you love spicy food, Thailand is the place to go. If you ask them, even in Thai, in their language, if you say no spice at all, because I don't like spicy food, that means
Mhm.
one less chili, but it still comes out spicy. You're like, why?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, yeah, it's the spice and it's crazy. So, tom yum is a popular soup. Pad thai is very popular noodle dish, and fried egg and noodles. And the fried rice there is amazing. And I love just
Mhm,
walking the street markets. And even though,
mhm,
like, luckily I never got sick or food poison or anything like that in all my times in Thailand,
mm.
um, it's definitely a lot of different foods to even look at. And see. And even they see you and they're like, try, and you're like, it's a squid on a stick. Like, no, thank
Ooh.
you, but it's
Yeah,
amazing. So
yeah.
people are just so nice.
Yeah, yeah, squid.
It's that dry
Yeah, I
squid.
always recommend. Yeah, and I recommend folks, hey, when you're in a different country, try the local cuisines, local meals. But I ain't gonna lie, I got my limits though. I tried it some things, and I think a squid. I don't know. That's something. I had what is it? I think calamari. What is calamari? Fried squid?
Yeah.
Is that fried squid?
And then you mentioned, yeah,
Calamari,
escargot,
right?
right?
That's
Yeah.
snail. Yeah, that one was snail. But the calamari, I think I tried it. It wasn't for me. So I don't
Right.
think I like any forms of squid. If I don't like it while it's fried, then I probably ain't gonna like it any other way. Okay, cool. So as what far as other things to do in Thailand, I know it's a lot. We could do the elephant sanctuary and whatnot. Is there anything else that you would recommend folks to do while in Thailand?
So my second time around, I was fortunate and I was able to start living in Thailand, and I landed in Bangkok. I've never been to Bangkok before in my life. And our city here is not even, doesn't compare to Bangkok. And my friend and I were like, what are we doing here? There's so many people, and we didn't know the language. We
Yes.
didn't know the transportation and the trains and the buses. Were like, get us out of Bangkok. So we actually did not enjoy it at first because of so many people. But then we went to our town, which was like a 5-hour bus ride. And we wanted that experience. We wanted to be in a small town where no one spoke English, and we want to learn Thai and teach them English. So it was great. So we were in a small town, not like Bangkok, but on weekends we could always go back to Bangkok when we were learning more, and people would recommend things for us to do. Then it got easier to go back to Bangkok. It was great. Then it got better, and the Western food was there too, where
Right.
we did not have Western food in our town. So, and the parties and like just you could do anything in Bangkok. It was amazing. But in my town, it was a town, everything shut down at 10.
Yeah.
There was no nightlife, but it's okay. It's what we wanted. So we were really happy. And I was fortunate enough. I was
Mm-hmm.
working there for about a year. I was teaching preschool. And let me tell you, those Thai kids are
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable. I was only supposed to be teaching for 4 months, and I stayed for almost a year. So I couldn't leave them. And it was great.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Nice.
missed them every day. And I was fortunate enough to,
So
okay. I was fortunate enough
no,
to
no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're fortunate enough. Go ahead.
Oh, I was fortunate enough to take my parents back this last January, right before lockdown. We went back to Thailand and they got to see my town. And as far as things to do, the islands in Thailand, not only the southern islands, it's usually what people know about, just like say Phi Phi, Koh Tao, all those southern islands are the tourist islands. But there's an island close to my town. It was called Koh Chang, and
Mm-hmm.
we had motorbikes for our transportation, and we rode to the
Mm-hmm.
island on the weekends, partied all
Mm-hmm.
night long, and we stayed
Mm-hmm.
at bungalows on the beach, and it was off season, maybe $25 a night. It was incredible. Thailand's very affordable. You can get great deals, and the water is just amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely recommend it.
Yeah. Bury our dollar if you're from America. Our dollar goes a long ways in Thailand. So the most expensive thing you're probably gonna have to pay for is your flight. So, but once you land in Thailand, yeah, you can kind of ball out, so to speak. So yeah, and then Bangkok. For those folks who aren't familiar with Bangkok, I don't know if you may seen it on TVs or what have you, but Bangkok is a city, very heavily populated. So it's a lot going on, a lot of buses and motorbikes and what have you. And they have pretty much the rules is I don't know if they have rules. I'm sure they do, but you probably couldn't tell just by driving there. But yeah, it's very chaotic in Bangkok. And then I will look out. So one of the things in Bangkok or maybe Thailand in general that I just want to bring to light, if you are interested in getting like a massage or what have you. First of all, it's very, very cheap. I think it's like $6 for an hour, get you a massage. Definitely got to do that. Now, what I will say is when you're in Thailand, Bangkok specifically, because that's where I was at, you have to watch out for the trannies out there. So they call them lady boys. So you might want to be careful of who massages if you're not really into that. I mean, if that's your thing, then you probably in the right place. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Nobody judging. Do your thing. But for those folks who are not really into the what they call in Thailand the lady boys, then you definitely have to pay attention and pay attention. So
Yeah, yes, you never like we were warned. We luckily had known people in Chiang Mai even. They were popular up there. They're like, don't go into that massage place or that one on that corner. They knew. So we're like, thank you. Like it's incredible.
yeah. Yeah, but if that's your thing, that's your thing. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Go up in there if that's what you want. So yeah, that's what's up. So now, far as the islands, I know you was mentioning some of the islands. Now, what was different about those islands up north with the locals versus the touristy islands? What would you say? Why you like those better? What's up with those?
Because there's no tourists. We basically
Mm,
have the islands to ourselves. The
mm,
bartenders there, they knew us. So it was free drinks all the time.
mm,
And, we got
mm.
to know people there because they'd see us every weekend. They're like, oh, the teachers are here. And the cool thing, I don't know if you got to see a lot of the fire shows. You were in
Mm-mm,
Thailand.
I
Oh, so they have
didn't.
the fire shows like on the beach, but they also have them in the bars. So one specific bar place that we go to is called Himmels and
Mm-hmm,
Kochang, and they literally
mm-hmm,
light the bar on fire, like underneath
mm,
right there, and then they can put your drinks up
mm-hmm.
there, or people can dance on the bar and they'll light it on fire, and the bartenders are like shirtless and they're having fun and they're dancing and everyone's just drinking, having a good time. And there's English music, which in our town we didn't never heard
Yeah,
English Western music. So
right.
we had such a good time, and that's where we met so many people, um, the locals there, by going a lot. So it was really
Right,
close to us.
right.
Yeah.
Like that. I like that. That's definitely different. That's turn up. All right, Thailand. See, I wasn't in that part. I should have. I guess I got to go back. So, yeah, definitely got to do that. Now, how is it far as getting by speaking English? Because I know a lot of folks only from America only speak English. So, is it a place that you can get around with just English? Do you need a translator or Google Translator? How is that? How does that work?
In my town, it was very difficult at first. They do not speak English, and even the teachers that worked with me in my classroom, I had three Thai teachers, and I probably could talk to
Mm-hmm.
two. It's hard, but you definitely use your translator a lot. You definitely want to
Mm-hmm.
get, for them to get to know you and just talk to them, even though they might be shy. It took a while to get to know people around town. And then the funny part is, if they were to see you and they see you again, they would remember our exact food order. It was incredible. Like they know exactly what you
Mm-hmm.
want because they would recognize us instead of us recognizing them every time. Because we just stood
Mm-hmm.
out so much. It was a population of maybe 30 teachers from the UK, South Africa, America, and that's how we all became a tight knit group. And yeah, you're just recognized around town. And if you're a foreigner and you don't live there, like, you're lost. Who are you? Like, just walking on the street, like, who's that? Like, they're lost. Yeah.
That is funny. Now, let's go. Let's see if we can get some Rosetta Stone up in here. Now, do you remember any words? Now, what's the language? Is it Thai to Gala or no? Not Tagalog. That's
Thai,
Philippines.
Thai.
It's Thai.
Yeah.
Uh, so, do you remember any words in Thai by chance?
Yeah, so anytime you have to like greet someone, you have to like do like sawadika, like, and that was hard to get used to at first. And then you
Uh huh.
cannot, like, you can't stop doing it when you come back to America. You're like sawadika, kapkun ka means thank you. I was learning a lot from actually the children, so
Mm-hmm.
mainly numbers, only like 1 through 10 because they were 3-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I was teaching them English, and they love music and all the English little kid songs.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. A lot of the teachers that are still there, they've had a chance, they learn a lot more quicker. So I mean, you learn
Right.
fast. Like if you use the same words, you learn pretty fast. It's not
So
like a difficult language.
yeah, let's slow it down a little bit. Let's slow it down a little bit. So the first thing you said was something about the hands. So you greet people, you put your hand, and I hear that you're supposed to have your elbows in. Is that right? Is that, do I remember correctly? So you have your hands like this, you have your elbows in, and then you bow. And what's the, if you could say a little slower for us, what you supposed to say?
Suwadika. Suwadika.
Suwadika,
Yeah.
suwadika, suwadika.
Suwadika.
And
Actually,
that
there's a female version and a male version. So the girls say sawadika. I think boys say like sawadi krap. It's like
mhm.
KRAP at the end. So there is, just like Spanish,
Right,
there's the
right.
male and English reversal
Mm.
roles. Yeah.
And that's when you greet somebody, when you introduce, you greet somebody, you do that. Now, how do you say, how do you say thank you again?
Kap kun ka is for females, and kap kun kap like males. And same, bow
Hmm.
again, like always.
Bow again.
You're just so used to it.
Yeah, and I do it now. Like you mentioned, it's something like you go there, and it's something you take to your culture. It's something like I don't know why it just stuck with me every time I say thank you. Oh, thank you. Like it's just something that I
Exactly.
just picked up, and I like it. I like it. Me personally, I don't want to stop. So, now let me ask you this: what, far as their culture, far as the Thailand culture versus the American culture, what similarities do you see, and what differences do you see between the two?
So I'm gonna go with like the school vibe that I noticed. They Here we have nannies and we have babysitters. Over there they don't.
Mm-hmm.
They have the grandparents that live with the family and they take care of the kids. Because I'm used to be like on the side. I'm like, ooh, who could I babysit? But they have family
Uh-huh.
and they take care of each other there and they don't need to pay a babysitter. So family
Mm-hmm.
wise, they're very close like that. And a lot of the parents also have to work in Bangkok. So you might not even see a lot of the parents.
Mm-hmm.
They come back on like weekends to see the kids,
Mm.
but they stay with the kids stay with the grandparents.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's amazing. So they work hard.
Wow.
A lot of the Thai people, like you see, like they they age pretty well and they're happy people. I don't know. It's if you know, but Thailand is the land of smiles. And that's what I really like about the
Mhm.
culture. And everyone's
Mhm.
happy and they just love you. They're happy that you're there too, which you don't feel like you're being
Mhm.
pushed or like, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. They embrace
Mhm.
foreigners. And that's why I recommend
Mhm.
anyone going to Thailand. Like you will love the people. They are just they want to teach you about their culture and they want you to try new things. They will offer you food. They invited us to the kids' birthday parties. They're very good at accommodation, like guest houses. If you go to another like province of Thailand, they'll be like, I have a guest
Mhm.
house, you're more than welcome to stay in it. And they don't expect anything.
Mhm.
Like it's just it's awesome. So I love the people.
That is dope. Yeah, that's the, see, that's something I think I wish we can bring back to our American. Even in the Hispanic culture, it seems it's all about La Familia as well. So that's another thing I picked up in their culture, and then also the Thailand culture as well. So I don't know, Americans. We're I guess we're wired a little different. Some, who knows, but I like that family. It's your grandparents is raising the grandkids. So because I'm not a parent or not, but I'm only assuming that you'll be careful with who you have raising your kids. So that's kind of important. So if you have your parents raising your kids, they raise you. If you're good with them raising you, you'll probably be good with them raising your kids. So that makes sense to me. We
Yeah.
can have,
And it's what amazes me. You should see these little kids on these motorbikes. How they hold
what?
on, like they can fit two, three, four kids on one bike, and it might be the
Mm,
grandparents driving. And I'm like, oh my goodness, no helmet. They're hanging on, just
mm-mm,
like sitting in the back of them.
mhm,
There's infants that will like the moms will carry them in like a carrier, just drive the motorbike,
mhm.
and then have another kid on the back. It's incredible, and honestly, I did
Yeah.
not see any accidents while I was there. And you go down our freeway here, and you get stopped with a big accident. Like it's
Mhm.
insane. So that was really
That
cool.
is, it's funny that you mentioned that because I when you said, I was thinking about, like, I don't remember seeing it. I mean, of course I wasn't there a long time. I was there for like a week or so, but I is crazy. I'm talking about, as crazy and as chaotic and unorganized as it looks, I didn't see any accidents myself. And like I said, y'all, I'm talking about, you have your cars and then you have your motorbikes riding in between the cars. There's no structure really. So if you're from America, I wouldn't advise you guys to rent a car and drive there if you don't know what you're doing. So you might want to have a driver there. That's what we did. We had a driver. So
Yeah. And I learned
definitely.
on the other
Yeah.
to drive on the other side of the road. So because I had my own motorbike that I went to school in every day in the rain too. Like you pull over, you put on
Mm.
your rain jacket, and then you keep going. Like it's so incredible. And I to this day I can't believe I did all that, and I survived. But coming back into like driving into a car, I felt
Mhm.
claustrophobic. Driving back
Mhm.
on the right side of the road, that was hard again. Just little
Yeah.
things, like it was crazy. So it was so fun though.
Beautiful. I'm loving that. Now, far as Americans, do we need vaccines or visas or anything other than a passport to go to Thailand?
It depends where you go. So if you're gonna be up north in kind of like more rainy weather, then I would get like the mosquito vaccines. I
Mhm.
did that for Chiang Mai. But other than that, bring bug spray. Mosquitoes are everywhere. Especially if you go hiking like to the waterfalls. There's waterfalls, there's
Mhm.
temples, there's so much to do and see in Thailand. So every day
Mm.
I was putting on bug spray over sunscreen. You have to bring
Mm.
sunscreen too because the sun is very strong there. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, other than that, you can get a visa, like a 30-day, I don't know the restrictions now, but like a 30-day visa once you arrive there. Or you can, I had to do it
Mhm.
differently because I was actually working there. So I got a work visa, which helped a
Mhm.
lot. And your passport, you're good to go.
Mhm. Mhm. Right, right. Cool. See, keep it simple. Now, did you get a chance to travel to any other neighboring countries or anything like that while you were in Thailand?
I did go to Bali and my passport went to Cambodia, but I technically didn't go to Cambodia. That was a real crazy, sketchy story. But Bali, I got to spend some time in Bali too.
Really? Now, how long was that flight from where you were in Thailand to Bali? How was that? Or
I think
drive,
it was
whatever you did.
4 to 6 hours, like for a flight. So that was the
Okay, and that was a flight. Okay.
flight. Yeah, yeah. The neighboring
Okay.
countries
Okay.
were Laos and Cambodia. But you go to Cambodia just to get like if you need another tourist visa, you go there and you go to Cambodia and come back. That's how we
Mm,
got our
okay.
visas real fast.
Right. Right, right. Now, do you recall how much it cost more or less for that flight from Thailand to Bali?
Oh, because it was in Thai money too. It wasn't a lot because I was able to go and I was working in Thailand, so everything was cheaper there. I wouldn't be able to say an exact price, but probably American dollars, only a couple hundred. It wasn't bad because you have the Thai, they're like
Okay. Okay.
direct Thai flights and they're different. So they weren't that long. So it was like from us
Mm-hmm.
to another state.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't bad at all.
Right. Okay. And I'm assuming you flew out of either LAX or San Diego Airport. How long was that flight from Southern California to Thailand about?
That's the killer because that takes if you find a flight under 20 hours, you got a good deal because it takes forever. That's why I wish
Mm-hmm.
Thailand was closer because if it was closer, I'd be on a flight tomorrow. They're actually living life right now. Their COVID cases are practically almost gone. My friends are still there, and
Mm-hmm.
they're on that Koh Chang Island this weekend, and I'm just here, and I'm like, no, so jealous.
Mm-hmm.
They're living life over there.
Uh,
But yeah, if you get anything under 20 hours,
yeah.
less than like 900 to 1,000, if you got like 900 below for a flight, that's pretty good too, because the flights are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But once you're there, you can
Right, right.
stay in
Yeah.
high rises in Bangkok for super cheap. And they have the pools on top of the hotels. It's a modern city, and that's what was really cool about Bangkok.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, definitely recommend it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have to start wrapping things back up. We do have to catch a flight back home. So before we do that, we're going to hit some gift shops, get some souvenirs and whatnot. So as we're doing that, Kelly, is there any final thoughts or any last things that you would like to mention about Thailand that you recommend? Anything?
I would definitely recommend seeing Bangkok and seeing any like neighboring islands. If you don't go down south, research the ones that are like, in the middle of Thailand or up north, because anywhere in Thailand's beautiful. You have the ocean, you have mountains, you have 1,000 temples to see. Just definitely try to stick with the locals and they will greet you with open arms.
Hmm. Well said. Yeah, definitely agree. There's a lot that you can do in Thailand where, good food. Like I mentioned, your money goes a long way with the food. You get some good rice, street food. Try the street food. I'm telling you, you can't go wrong. Be careful, of course, but that it is what it is. Also, don't ride the elephants. Don't do all that touristy stuff if you can avoid it. Try to do something more local, something more, humane, like doing the sanctuaries and washing the elephants and playing in the mud and all that stuff. That's fun too. You can do that as well. And then also, of course, you got the Phukets and the Fifi Islands, but that's go to the local islands, and I believe that's the northern islands. Is that right?
Yeah, like the Gulf of Thailand area. Uh-huh.
Okay. So yeah, so it's just a lot that you can do. Now, what type do you think it's more of a family type vacation, romantic, solo, budget traveler, expense? Well, not really expensive. What type of trip do you think Thailand is?
It depends where you go. So Bangkok is the party town. You stay up late. A lot of business people are there. Definitely, I would not recommend Bangkok for families. Romantic
Mm-mm.
getaway, like the Southern Islands, you could get a beach bungalow like right on the sand for super cheap, and the sunsets there are incredible. And they have just like
Mm.
beach beds everywhere, fire shows. It's really cool. We saw a proposal happen on one of the beaches. I'm like, that's so romantic. I'm like, this is so
That's
awesome.
dope.
Chiang Mai would probably be more like the family and the history. It's more the mountains, and there's still like definitely there's also wild elephants still out there, which is great to see.
Mhm.
Well, they're common to see, and so you could definitely check that out also. So it's fun for everybody, but definitely do your research before you go.
Beautiful. Well said. So definitely put Thailand on your list if it isn't already, and if it is on your list, moving on up. So, ladies and gentlemen, we do have to catch this flight back home, unfortunately. So while we're on the way home to our home airports, Kelly, we do have one last segment for you. It is called the lightning round, and I'm going to ask you a list of questions, and you are to answer them as quickly as possible. So
Okay.
quick. Speed is our friend.
Okay.
And to make it even more interesting, you can only use one word answers. So no back and forth, nothing like that.
Okay.
Just short and sweet, short and simple. Keep it. Yep, we're good to go. So I am ready. Are you ready?
Yes. Let's do it.
All right, vamos. So question number one: what is your favorite airline?
Alaska.
What is your favorite hotel?
The Marriott.
What is your favorite cruise line?
Ooh, Carnival.
What is your favorite state?
California.
What is your favorite country?
Thailand.
What is your favorite hotel booking site?
The globaltravelclub.com.
Nice. What is your favorite flight booking site?
The globaltravelclub.com.
There we go. And then what is one thing you must bring on all of your trips?
Passport.
Definitely. Where do you want to go next?
Europe.
What other state would you live in?
North Carolina.
What other country would you live in?
Europe.
Last question. What is your favorite travel podcast?
The Global Travel Podcast.
Hey, good answer. So much appreciated, Kelly. Thank you so much for stopping by and showing all your great, travel knowledge and whatnot. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for having me. It was so fun
And
meeting you.
yeah, no problem, of course. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching our home airport. So you know what time of day it is. I need you back into your seats, buckle up, trays up, and your seats in an upright position. But before we land, Kelly, if you can do us a huge favor, if you can give us one last piece of travel advice, what would that be?
Have fun, learn the culture, try to learn a different language, and travel by yourself once in your life and be brave.
Well said. Well said. I love that. Much appreciated. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are safely landed. You can unbuckle your seatbelts, grab your belongings, and exit the cabin. So, with that being said, thank you for flying here with us at the Global Travel Podcast, and we'll see you guys on our next trip. If you would like to be a guest on our show and tell us about your travel experiences, then leave us a comment in the comment section below so we can reach out to you. Also, if you have any countries, states, or cities that you'd like us to review, please let us know so we can plan a trip there. Lastly, if you got some good value today and liked our podcast, please hit the like button and click subscribe so you can travel with us again next time. So subscribe right now because you don't want to miss the next trip. With that being said, over and out.